Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar, Introducing the Enhanced Landing Page Builder. We're going to talk today about building smarter and publishing faster. My name is Jennifer Blanco. I am the Director of Customer Marketing here at Acton, and I'm so happy to have you all joining us. Feel free to pop in the chat where you're joining us from today, and feel free to continue to pop in the chat any sort of questions that you might have. A few housekeeping items. This webinar will be recorded today, so if you have to leave, if a coworker didn't make it, or in case you want to forward it because it's so good, we will be sending a recording to you probably tomorrow once we get this all buttoned up. And we are going to have Q&A. So if you want to participate in Q&A throughout the demo and the webinar, please feel free to drop your questions into the chat or the Q&A. So without further ado, I would love to say hello to our fellow presenters today. We have David Nethers, who is joining us. He's the Senior Product Manager here at Acton. As you can see, he's in our Portland office, high above the beautiful city of Portland today. David Zumini is also here today. He's our Senior Product Designer, also in the Portland office, but has a little bit more of a stealth background, so you might not know that. David are a powerhouse dynamic duo. They joined us both around the same time and have been working in tandem on the email composer and the updated landing page composer. I have to tell you, they're both very engaged. They want to hear your feedback. I know that both of them have talked to many customers, and it's really exciting to have them here today. We're going to have David Zumini, who's going to talk a little bit about how we've brought customer influence and impact in your voice into what we've done with the new composer. And then David Nethers is going to get into the demo. I know that that's what a lot of you want to see. You want to see what's different, what's changed, what's updated, and we will be getting into it. So we have the new flow, we have some fun new autosave and like draft publish features. And then we'll get into the new composer, which is going to look very familiar to many of you because it follows that same look and feel that you've gotten accustomed to and learned to love with our new email composer. So without further ado, I will hand it over to David Zumini, and he is going to run you through sort of how he and the design team really took your insights into making this landing page builder what it is today.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, we're excited to dive into the demo here, but as Jennifer mentioned, I just want to give a quick look behind the scenes into our design process and how you can be involved in that if you'd like to be. So when it comes to something like the landing page composer or any part of the product that we're working on, really, one of the first questions that we're asking ourselves internally is, why are we making this update? What are we looking to do with this feature, or what are we looking to bring to it? And there's a lot of answers to that question usually. For the most part, we're pulling that in from our own internal ideas and goals and plans for the product. And when it comes to something like the landing page composer, some of those answers to that question is we want to bring a fresh, modern experience to the composer. We want it to feel consistent. So like Jennifer said, if you're familiar with our landing or our email composer that we recently released late last year, then jumping into the landing page composer, you'll feel right at home. It's something that you already know most of how to use without even having to dive in just yet. And we want to offer more control over your workflow. We want to offer new and improved content blocks. These are all things that are on our list, but they're also things that we get a lot of feedback from customers, just like yourselves, really asking for these features or requesting certain things. And so it's really clear to see how your feedback shapes the product. You know, everything that we hear from our customers influences what we build. It helps us prioritize features. It helps us fix friction points and just generally evolve the product. You know, I wish I could say that every bit of feedback we get is something that we'll implement. But a lot of times that's just not possible. You know, we might get feedback that conflicts with each other, and we have to figure out how to resolve both of those and build the best possible solution out of that. But what I can promise is that we do look at every bit of feedback we get, we evaluate it, and we feed it into our process. So when we're kicking off a new project, customer feedback is front and center in why we're doing that. When we're going through the design process and exploring new ideas and how to arrange things on the screen and what new features to bring in, we're always looking back to that feedback is one of the inputs to say, hey, is this design addressing the feedback that we've gotten? And to that end, all that feedback is really truly welcome, whether it's that you love it, that's helpful for us to hear. We don't want to just pat ourselves on the back with that. It's a indicator that we should be doing more of whatever that is. And if you have pain points or just a cool new idea that you'd love to see in the product, that's something that really helps us as well. And we want to build the best possible product for you, and hearing what you'd like to see in it helps us do that. So as we go through the demo here, and as you dive into the beta and start using it for yourself, just really encourage any and all feedback. We'd love to hear it, whether that's at the end of the webinar here in the Q&A or just through some feedback that you send in over the coming weeks and months. We'd love to hear from you. And with that, I will turn it over to David Nethers to dive into the demo and really show us what's new and what's coming.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Yeah, we're excited to kind of dive into the landing page composer and show. I'm assuming that many of you have already taken the chance to kind of maybe click into the new composer. You've seen the pop-ups in our application, but we're going to get into a little bit more detail on the specific flows. As Jennifer mentioned, we're going to talk about how the creation flow works, the kind of autosave and draft and publish features that we've incorporated into it, and then also kind of dive into some of the differences between the landing page composer and the email composer. So without further ado, we're going to come over here and just kind of dive right into the application. So for here, we have our landing page list. It's the same place it's always been in that content landing pages. Well, I should say it's the same place as it was a couple weeks ago, at least. In this page, you have your list of landing pages. You'll notice that some of these have this beta tag, some of them don't. Any of them that don't have the beta tag are kind of the legacy experience, the existing landing page composer that you're familiar with, and the new beta tag will kind of denote any of these that are created in this new experience. So to create a new landing page in the new composer, when you go to click create landing page, there's this toggle here. You can turn this on or off. It'll remember whatever your last setting was, but as soon as you turn it on, you'll notice the beta tag here. I can click next, and it gives me the opportunity to give it a title, get some your folder location specified, and add any tags. Hopefully really kind of set you off on the right foot of keeping yourself organized. I do want to call out a couple of things as we go in here. So I'm going to create one first. So we'll just keep it in our standard folder and the macro data refinement. So you land in the creation experience in this composer. You start off with in a draft state. There is, your title, the kind of other familiar elements here that you've seen in the legacy landing page experience. But a couple of things to note here is that we track the updates and are auto saving these updates in here, just like we do in the new email composer. So but I do want to call out that the way that we do that keeps visitors to the landing page from seeing those changes until you're ready. So how we do that is, for instance, if I come in here and I just want to create a really simple one. So we put in a paragraph. I'm not going to even really worry about modifying that yet, but you see that autosave happened. The page here itself, we're just going to go to set in a redirect URL here, and we'll go ahead and click publish page. So publishing sets it live for all of your end visitors. And you'll notice here we say it's live, it's visible to our end users. And then I'm able to come back here and then start modifying this text. Let's say I want to change this. Now we have that autosave, but we also call out that there's unpublished changes. We do that in a couple of different places. So you'll notice that it calls out there's unpublished changes here. On the landing page manager, it will call out that there's unpublished changes. So that way it helps you to really quickly understand that the most recent version that you've been working on is not what end users are seeing or end visitors are seeing. So it also calls out here to publish changes, which then would merge those changes into what our site visitors see. And one of the things I want to call out is some additional workflows in here. We have this ability to discard changes. Discarding changes essentially kind of puts into the recycle bin any changes that you've made since your last publish. So if you have a published version and you made some edits to the wrong page, or you have made some edits that you decide aren't actually what you want to do, you've had a change in direction, you can discard those changes and get back to the published version in your editor, and then maybe go a different direction if you want to. Additionally, we have the ability to unpublish. So in the legacy experience, there was the enabled disabled toggle. Because we updated this to incorporate a publish flow, we've changed around some of the verbiage here. But so if I were to unpublish this, I can set it so that it's now considered a draft. It's no longer visible to users who would be coming to visit your landing pages, and it will redirect to whatever redirect URL we have here. You'll notice one thing down here, this restore option. If you remember, before I unpublished this, I had unpublished changes. So we had kind of two copies of the landing page. We had the published version, which is the one that our page visitors would see, and we had the working copy. So the working copy was what I was building on, what I modified the text for. Those two copies are still here. If I want to get back to the published version, let's say you had an intern that unpublished the wrong page and you were already in the process of building additional changes into that page, but you're not ready for them to go live, you can click restore, and this will republish the previous version, keeping your unpublished changes separate. So I can kind of show you that here. And you'll notice we come back here, the live version, it doesn't have those updates that I didn't publish, but they are still in the editor for me here. So this can be helpful to kind of recover from decisions or mistakes that were made, just to give you a little bit more flexibility on how you approach things. Now, if I had said publish pages, that would have merged those changes into the published version and set myself going forward. So a little bit of extra detail here that can be helpful. But this page is really boring. Let's get to one that looks a little nicer, and we can kind of go through some more functionality here. So now we have this landing page for the Q2 Waffle Party announcement. We're really excited to announce this waffle party, and it's an internal landing page for our team members. You'll notice a couple of things across the landing page that are consistent, but also some things that are different. So as we mentioned before, this page status, we have this displayed a little bit differently here. Again, draft and live are the new equivalents to enabled and disabled. And as we scroll down, you'll see the public URL manager, the ability to create multiple URL groups that, for instance, if you have two different audiences that you want to be able to report on, knowing that, you know, this group maybe have like paid ads as one and you have organic reach as another. You can separate those into two different groups and share those URLs separately in your Google Ads or in your, you know, partnership kind of outreach, whatever that looks like. And then beyond that, you have the ability to create your SEO friendly URLs. And if you have a Bitly configured for your account, you'll be able to create Bitly kind of short URLs directly in the landing page composer. So that can be helpful, especially for any SMS campaigns that you might have running, because obviously, you know, you can't fit all of this into an SMS and still be able to actually have your marketing message. Additionally, we have our SEO and social share settings. This is similar to what we had before, but I think this is just a little bit easier to review and see what this looks like. So you can set your page visibility, your title, a description, and update your social share image. So that way, when somebody happens to share this page on social media, LinkedIn, whatever that is, this is a relatively accurate representation of what people will see in that post. Obviously, they might format it a little differently. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything on my list of things to discuss. Okay, so that's the settings tab. We're going to go into the design tab now and kind of walk through some of the differences between the landing page composer and the email composer. Specifically over here, we're going to start out on these tabs over here. You have the content, rows, global styles. I'm going to go to the global styles tab and call out one big difference that the landing page composer has over the email composer, and we allow you to go up to 1440 pixels here. With emails, obviously, most email clients reduce the amount of screen real estate that an email can be displayed in. So your best bet is to have like a narrower email content so that it's more targeted towards that user experience. But we understand that, with a landing page, people are oftentimes using, maybe it's their laptop or a desktop to access. And so getting more screen real estate can be really helpful. But you'll notice here, it's kind of hard to get all of the information. I have to kind of use my side scroll on my mouse to get left and right. But if I click here, I can collapse that little sidebar to get more screen real estate. Makes it a lot easier to see your design as it's meant to be. But clicking that will open it back up. We're going to go down again, back over to about 720. I'm not going to be super precise. That'll be close enough. And walk through some of the other items that are in here. A couple of content blocks that are available in both editors, but are different in the landing page experience. Well, one specifically is the video block. I'm going to pull this in here and just kind of show you what this looks like. So in the email composer, we provide the thumbnail option. You can put in a Vimeo or YouTube link in here, and it will create a little thumbnail and embed that in your email. It's great. If you want an embedded playable video that's hosted on YouTube or Vimeo, you can do that in the landing page composer. If you have an MPEG file that's hosted on a CDN somewhere and you want to be able to play that in here, you can press this hosted file, put in the URL for that video, and it'll wrap it in an HTML5 video player. Similar experience to what they would have with YouTube, but more kind of a generic experience. Outside of the video block, you'll see a handful of other things that we have available in here. We pulled in the event block, the RSS block, and some of these other options here. We have some additional blocks that I'm going to show you in a minute as well. I think the next one to discuss here is, we'll just dive right in, is the map block. So if we're looking at this map block, you can drag it in, and it gives you the option to put in a map of any different area. So we immediately give you the option of any account address that you have, but you can also enter in a custom address if you have something that's just for this one-off situation. So this renders it similarly to how the event block does, but gives you a little bit more control over the look and style of it. So for instance, I can specify the aspect ratio if I really want it to be square. I can specify the zoom level if I want to get in really far away or really up close. And then whether it links out to Google Maps as well. So if I were to go and just hit that in here, you'll see the map renders pretty quickly, and it'll be available to any page visitor once it's published. I think the next thing that we're going to look at is forms. As we know, this is a really common use case for a lot of our customers. Forms embedded into Act-On landing pages is, I would say, if not the lion's share, definitely up there on the number of people who use this for their landing pages, and in the sheer number of landing pages that contain forms. So if we pull in the form block, you'll see it's configured here, and I have my columns are set up to keep this a little bit narrower. So if you had, one big column, this would take up more space, but in this case, I have it a little bit tighter. I'm going to click Manage Form, and then I can go and select an existing form. We're going to ask everybody about their waffle toppings, which ones they really want to have at the party. From here, you can click to edit, and that will directly open the form editor for that form. You can create a new form, and once that's created and saved, it'll come back here and it'll just appear in the composer. You can show pre-filled if you have, if somebody's coming from an email link and they're identified through that or through a cookie, and you already have some contact information about them that is wires up to the fields that are available, those will get pre-populated for them. And then also excluding CSS. This gives you a little bit more flexibility on whether you want the CSS in your form or in the landing page to kind of win, essentially, if there's a conflict. Finally, we have the custom form JavaScript, form load, and the form submit JavaScript. There's some really interesting use cases around this, but this is a carryover from what we had in the legacy experience. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add that form, and you'll see we didn't have a background, so it's just using the background of the page here and letting people kind of incorporate their forms directly into the landing pages, which could be really helpful. There is a couple of other things that I want to showcase. One is the saved rows functionality. This is something that we launched with the email composer, the ability to create a row, save it, and kind of give it a name, and then put it into content later. So now that we have the landing page composer built in the same kind of architecture, we're able to utilize that saved row technology that we put together to allow you to create content in either composer and use it in the other one. So email composer saved rows will show up in the landing page composer and vice versa. There are some limitations here. There are some blocks and content things that are very specific to either landing pages or emails. And we have some filtering rules that apply. So for instance, if you have a block that you created in the landing page composer, you come over to the email composer and it's not showing up even though you're searching for it, it may be that there's some content in there that is just incompatible with the email composer. So we did a little bit of that, and there's going to be some improvements that we are considering on that pattern as well. So definitely give us feedback if there's things that you want to be able to do and you're not able to. But let's kind of come over here and come into this for now. So I have my saved rows, and I want to pull in this guy. We'll pull it below the dance party. So we'll put it right there. And this was something that I created in the email composer, but it was able to seamlessly pull into the landing page composer here, which can be really great. And obviously, we all want to be talking about our policy handbook here at Macro Data Refinement. Let me talk a little bit about like anchor links now and how those are built inside of the landing page composer, because they can be really helpful. So if I come down here, for instance, I have this block, the form block. There's on the bottom right here, and you might have to scroll. So things that have more configuration options, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom, but it's there on all these different blocks. You turn on the block identifier, and it generates some kind of really complex programmatic ID for the module, but I'm just going to call this form, something simple. Once you have that, I can come up to the top, and any button or link or anything that has kind of a pass-through, like if you have an image that you want to have a click action on, you can select. And you'll see here that you can open a web page, send an email, make a call. I'm going to configure this as an internal link and actually specify that I want it to pass to the form. So now when someone loads this landing page, they'll get up to the top, they click sign up now, it will scroll them down to have the form in their kind of viewport. It can be really helpful for just kind of streamlining and moving people to the content that you want to kind of call to action on. The other thing that's helpful here as well is that you can deep link into parts of your web page using that. So for instance, if you have this set up with an ID form and I were to visit the public URL, but I added the like hashtag form to it, when the page loads, the browsers will respect that ID kind of reference and scroll them down immediately to the form. So it's really great if you have specific links and maybe a longer landing page, but you have an ad that wants, and you're like, if somebody's clicking on this, they're already engaged. I don't want them to have to scroll through stuff. Let's just get them right to the form. You can do that using this pattern. That's about it. There's other kind of minor differences about the landing page composer editor, but a lot of them I think are more straightforward, and you can kind of, I think just using the interface, you'll be able to determine what your capabilities are. I do want to talk about, though, the custom code tab here and what you can do in this area. So you'll notice here we have the same kind of collapsible element here to pull in that capability. We also have the ability to preview both mobile and desktop. Let me step back for a second. Something I wanted to call out. So for those of you who are unaware, the editor itself, the kind of design tab, you can switch in the design tab between mobile and desktop. So if you have some mobile specific overrides that you want to do, you can come in here and you'll notice this one kind of looks a little grayed out. We actually have it set to hide on mobile. So you can hide certain things on mobile, hide them on desktop, both rows and content blocks. Anything that has one of these mobile chips when you're looking at the mobile side allows for a mobile specific override. And if that mobile override here, so for instance, I have this, we're going to turn that off. The padding I have overridden here, if I click that X, it will update and the padding will kind of pull back in or whatever the specific pattern was in the desktop version. So that can be really nice if you want to slightly tweak how things are laid out in mobile versus in desktop.
And David, this follows the email composer, like pretty much. I will say one of my favorite things, not in the mobile or desktop view, is how you can change the order of how they stack on desktop and mobile. And that's definitely been something that I've been using. I think you have to go to the desktop version, maybe.
Yeah, you can go, it's a little harder to get the row on the mobile, but if you kind of hover outside, you'll be able to scroll down and you can see, you know, what stack order you want, whether you want them to stack on mobile and then also which order they do. So you can do that for both desktop and mobile, but sometimes it's a little harder to grab the rows on mobile.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite features.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, coming back over to custom code. I know I teased this for a moment and then kind of pulled us back into the design tab. But here, again, that mobile and desktop kind of preview experience, you have JavaScript and CSS that you can add into the composer. We understand we're trying to keep the design really, this kind of interface really simple so that it's straightforward and easy for anybody to use. But we also know there are power users out there who really want to get into the nitty-gritty of things. So that's where our custom code tab comes into place. We allow for both JavaScript and CSS to be embedded into the head of the HTML file so that when somebody is viewing it, you can modify, you know, specific elements or styles or anything like that. You can run tracking code if you have some Google Tag Manager you want to put in there. There's a lot of different options that you have here. So this is a pretty consistent capability that we had in the legacy experience, where we find that this UI kind of makes it a little bit more straightforward on how to incorporate that. And I do want to call out anything that you're using regularly, for instance, can be added to your media library and can be just selected. So that way you don't have to always remember where your Google Analytics tracking tag is. You can just create a JavaScript file, upload that to the media library, and then select it here. Additionally, you can add multiple scripts. So there's a multi-select in there. On the CSS side, I can show you what that looks like, where let's say we have these two different scripts we want to pull in here, and I don't like the way that this is organized. Let's put it like that, because the order of the CSS can impact. The same thing with the JavaScript, you know, what order those scripts are run in. So they run from top to bottom. So the order that they're put here is the order that it's placed into the head of the file, with the custom kind of freeform input being the last thing there. You'll notice here this clean slate CSS. We added a little bit of rounded corners to the image because we like those rounded corners here. And then the other thing I want to showcase is, let's say I have some custom work that I want to put in place. So I have these really great dancing kind of party image down below, and I want to adjust that. So let's put this here, adjust that, and then it refreshes a moment after entering that in. And now you'll see we have a little side scrolling motion to kind of show some excitement, because these people are really excited about their waffles. But you get the idea. Like here we have a variety of different capabilities to be able to add in to target things. You can use those block identifiers in the design tab to kind of target specific content elements. And there's always the, especially if you're doing any of this custom work yourself, you probably are familiar with the inspect tools with any browser, and you can use those. Again, this is much more of like a power user kind of functionality, but we want to make sure that you have that option.
David, do you want to talk at all about how potentially people could use ChatGPT or AI to do something fun like that?
Yeah, definitely. If you haven't used ChatGPT to create little scripts or CSS kind of overrides or anything like that yet, I would say try it out because it's pretty good at giving you really simple things. I actually created this this element here, the scrolling effect that you see using ChatGPT. So we're not trying to promo necessarily OpenAI specifically, but any kind of general purpose LLM can really be helpful in kind of giving you the ability to punch above your own technical knowledge. And it takes some time. Like, so the first 2 iterations of this weren't perfect, but I was able to get what I wanted to. So what I did was I had the website, I copied the code of the website of the landing page, put it into the chat and said, hey, this image here, I want to scroll. And that really made it a little bit easier. All right. Okay, let's talk. I think I have one more thing that I wanted to discuss. Come back over to my notes real quick. The preview. So we have a kind of full page preview, well, mostly full page. We have a little bit of light touch UI at the top just to give you some controls. So you can kind of go back between the mobile and desktop. We are working on some updates to this because we understand that now that you have these 2 kind of versions of your landing page that you're building, you have the published one and the working copy, you want to be able to see the difference between the 2. So we are going to facilitate that on here. That's still coming, and I'll mention some of the other improvements that we have later. But you will be able to toggle between both the published and the working copy. And then additionally, you'll be able to copy links that allow you to share those links outside of your Acton instance to other stakeholders. So for instance, if you have a manager who doesn't like navigating in Acton, they just want to see the end result, or you have some proofing pattern or whatever that looks like, you can use these links to kind of showcase the 2 versions to anybody who needs to see it without those pages being tracked. So we're not tracking any clicks on them. We are just giving kind of an unmodified experience of what you designed. Whereas if you're using the public URLs, those URLs do have the click tracking and the kind of the form capture and so forth. So it can be really helpful for kind of internal review processes. I think that's about it for this. Jennifer, were there any questions that we wanted to kind of go through before I stop sharing the demo?
To be honest, there hasn't been very many questions, just a lot of love. So very glad to see that. People really liked the easeability of the redirect. So being able to kind of create that anchor link within the composer, and then redirecting. Mark said that he loves the live versus draft linking capabilities. That'll be really nice. He does have a question. What about saving the landing pages to a PDF?
The landing pages, if you have a public view of it, you can do like a print to PDF experience. So that's covered by all kind of major browsers, to my understanding. I think it's in Firefox as well, but I know it's in Chrome, Safari, that kind of thing. So that's kind of a way to directly get to that versus us building it into the application itself. So
yeah, that's a good workaround. Awesome. Well, if we don't have any questions, I did want to highlight that David has one more question. Does the event block include an add to calendar widget?
The event block does include an add to calendar widget, and that's included on both the email composer and the landing page composer. And the add to calendar widget includes a link to download an ICS file. So for anyone using a desktop client like Apple Calendar or Outlook or whatever. It also has web calendar links for Google, Yahoo Calendar, and Microsoft Office Live calendars as well.
Awesome. So, what I wanted to let everybody know is or David actually. Oh, David, why don't you share
No,
what's
totally.
coming next before we talk about office hours?
Yeah, no. So we do have several things still in the pipeline that I wanted to discuss here. I mentioned one of these previously, which is that. Oh, sorry. My scroll wheel moved us. We have the show live preview, which is one of the things that we're working on, but we have some other items here. Earlier this week, we launched the map block, we launched templates, and we still have more to kind of come on that side of things. We're going to be building out a template catalog that will give you access to hundreds of landing page templates that you can use for inspiration and kind of as a starting point when you're building out your own landing pages. That should be coming in a few weeks, I think. We have HTML code landing pages also in process. The gated content URL. So for instance, if you have a form and you have a file that you want to download automatically on submission, there is specific URLs for the landing pages with that. And so that will be incorporated into these new ones as well. So gated content is currently not supported on new Composer landing pages, just so you know. And then the webinar registration forms, being able to create these landing pages from scratch through those flows. And then we have a lot more kind of like smaller things that aren't worth necessarily going into here, but will definitely improve the overall user experience, we think, for our users. So I saw one question was something about, was there something about an undo?
Yeah, Alan was asking, is there an undo function for your last edit rather than disregarding all of your changes?
Yeah, I'll come back over here real quick and we'll just run through that. So if I have, let's say I did something here and in the same session, you can click this undo down on the bottom left. That is session specific. So it's if you were to close the editor and then come back, you aren't able to undo that. But if the editor has stayed open and you've made those changes, you have that undo and redo capability within that. So.
And I imagine that you all will start to have some more questions as you begin to play around with the Composer. I know that I have started to play with it, and I have to say I love it. I think that it's very intuitive and easy to use, and there's a lot more flexibility and customization that I feel I can do without knowing how to code things within the landing page Composer. But David has offered himself to participate in our office hour sessions for the next couple of weeks. So if your time allows, please feel free to register for those, and he'll be able to answer questions. I also wanted to highlight a little bit further up in the chat. I did put in the links for both feature requests, as David Zumini suggested. Like, we are taking your feedback and we want to hear what you have to say. But then also, if you have any questions or comments around landing pages specifically, you can submit a support ticket. And the difference there is how we classify them. Support tickets are something that a lot more eyes are seeing, our CS team is on. But then we're able to flag those specifically for the landing page builder, and they go directly to David Nether's inbox. So feel free to ping him as much as you'd like. Let's see, we had one more question from Bob. When adding a form, will it only allow the addition of new forms? I tried importing a form that I built in the classic form builder, but it's not working. That's a good question.
No, that is a good question. Most of our development and testing work has been focused on the new Composer, new form builder specifically. We don't. Most of our new customers don't even have access to the classic forms. I will say, now, as I understand it, we have feature parity between the two. So at a high level, I would be doing a disservice if I didn't call out that we're recommending people move from the classic form builder to the new form builder. But I believe we should still be able to support embedding classic forms in the landing pages for now. So let me look into that. Maybe Bob, I can follow up with you after the call, and we can get to the bottom of that.
Perfect. I'll make a note of that, so we'll be sure to follow up. Great. Well, with that, thank you everybody so much for joining us today. Please jump into the new landing page composer and let us know what you think. Give us your feedback, and we're excited to see what kind of landing pages you all build. So have a wonderful day and happy building. Bye.
Thank you all.